Capital Extra on your Saturday afternoon, 4 till 7 p.m. Your boy Robert Briuce in the building. And you know we like to bring your favourite artists through as well. The legends pass through the building. And right now I've got one sat in front of me. I don't even know. I was thinking about words to describe this guy. Icon, hit maker, fashion icon, entrepreneur, multi-Brit award winning. There's Mobos, there's BETs in there as well. I'm sure there's some GQ stuff in there as well. There's a lot going on, man. From South London all the way to Madison Square Garden, back to the O2. Tiny Tempah in the building, everybody.
Man like Rob, you know. Thank you, my brother. Much appreciated, man.
How are you doing, fam? What's going on?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I dropped the Tempah, so now man's just tiny now.
Oh, we're just straight tiny now?
Yeah, just straight tiny now, bro. Just feeling different, feeling like, I don't know, like all over the years when I meet people, that's what people call me, innit? So just making new music and stepping back out again, I just felt like that's how I was feeling. So I just dropped the Tempah, and now this is me, bro.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Love the energy as well. When I'm looking back at things, what really struck me with you is you did everything very young. Because obviously I was young when you was coming through. So to me, it felt like you was grown.
I'm like a child star.
Yeah, you could say that.
Slightly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That. But when you're black and from the hood, there's no such thing as like a child star, do you get what I mean? Apart from the Michael Jackson thing. But yeah, no, I sometimes looking back on it, because I made Wifey Rhythm when I was 16, and that's not even the first song that I made. So for everyone that's been following my music before then, I've been putting out stuff since I was like 14. So I've literally been doing it for half of my life now. Whoa. And when I look back on it, I do think, like, them times I didn't feel like I was that young, but now when I look back at it, and I look back at when other people's careers have started, like Chris Brown or Justin Bieber, I'm like, rah, man's been doing this for time, you know, it's crazy.
100%.
Yeah, it's mad, bro.
We got the care package as well, the first out 10 years.
Yes, my bro.
I said a BlackBerry. Do you know how much feelings we got when we received that?
Oh, my guy. I even sent you know, the Versace blue jeans. I sprayed it inside the safe so that the fragrance would come out, because I know that's what a lot of people were using back in the day at school and that. But yeah, no, it was important for me to just say thank you to everyone as well, because I know a lot of people that even received the package weren't around for that time. So one, I wanted just to remind people what that time was like, what it was about. For me, like, that was the stage of life where I was even supposed to be in uni. Like, I took the gap year, working hard at the music, everything paid off. First song that I released with a major label at the gate is like a #1 record, and it's like really the first rap record that's ever gone #1 in our history. Do you get what I mean? So at that time, like, I never even believed it would happen. I think people at my label didn't believe it would happen. I think it's even fair to say management didn't believe it would happen. Like, we were just happy to be in the building, happy to be in the situation. And then obviously everything after Pass Out was just crazier and crazier and crazier. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, man, because like, it's really hard to like be a musician. And I know sometimes people look at it and go, oh, you're privileged, it's like first world problems. But you know, I think now that we're living in more of a woke time and more of a conscious time, you're seeing the anxiety that comes with it, the mental health, the highs, the lows.
This is exactly what I was going to ask.
Bruv, it's not freaking easy, bro.
Yeah.
So this was just a way of saying thank you.
I hear you. Talk to me about the highs and lows, though, because that's what really struck me, that I wonder what you was going through in your mind at that time. Like, did you even have time to, like, calm down, or was everything just bang, 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 bang?
My brother, like, boy, I remember like going through like a really big low, like just before Pass Out came out. So it was like, I don't want to go too far back in the day, but it was one of the Mobos, and man, I'd already been putting in work. So I'd already released Hood Economics, and I'd released like Tears or something like that. That was like the most expensive video we'd done at the time. I recreated the car crash from the Wifey Rhythm video. Do you get what I mean? And that year we just never won anything. We weren't even nominated that year. And I remember like back then there was no conversation about depression or anxiety. That thing, especially in our culture,
100%.
Them times non-existent. Mum just beat it out of you. Do you get what I mean? Or dad would flog it out of you. It doesn't really exist, yeah. So I remember going through a massive low, and remember at this time, like, we were taking time out of like uni, and my cousin's not working and all that. So we're trying to prove to our parents that like this thing is gonna work. And at that time, I was so close to giving up. And that is probably like the biggest low that I've ever felt in my career. You know that picture that's on Instagram where like the guy's digging for gold, and he just gets that close? Yeah, I feel like it could have been me just turning back around and going into something else. But luckily, I kept going. And then after Pass Out Blue, my brother, the pressure and anxiety that I felt and that came with that, again, I couldn't quantify it. All I was thinking in my mind was, I'm young, I'm black, I've just had a hit, I have to keep having hits. Like, because if I don't keep having hits, then I don't know what this is gonna mean for me. I don't know what this is gonna mean for my manager. I don't know what this is gonna mean for my family. Do you get what I mean? So all of that was going on in my mind. And then at the same time, I became very cautious as well, because fame is a mad thing. And again, you know, when we look at all the reality TV shows that are happening, I think in this more conscious time, everyone knows what the effects of fame can be. Do you get what I mean? Some people are doing reality TV after the year. We're not ever seeing them again because it's been so traumatic, and the level of attention, the level of comments, the level of, you know, just eyes on you is so much, right? So I was very, very cautious about how fame was going to affect my normal life, and I was very cautious about how fame was going to affect my family's life, because, you know, you hear mad stories about this person's mom is trying to sue them, or is trying to, I don't know, do something mad, or this person's dad has just sold a story about them from when they were younger. Like, I didn't know. Obviously, I got great parents. I've got a great family. I'm from a great family background. But again, fame is fame, money is money. So you just never know.
So sure.
You can never be so sure. And so my defense mechanism was to just become very private.
Okay.
Yeah. So instead of like being like, oh yeah, this is, you know, where I live, this is my friends, this is my family. Because even them times as well, coming from where we come from, as soon as Pass Out went #1, where I lived, in my parents' house, I remember my mum used to be like, oh, son, don't come home today. You know, like a little Golf GTI has just pulled up outside. There's like 5 guys in the car. They don't look like any of your friends. Like, just... So then there's all this other stuff, which I'm sure we can all relate to and all that. There's all this other stuff going on. So my defense mechanism in all of that was just to be very, very private, and just to make everything about the music and just speak with success, if that makes sense. And so I put myself under a lot of pressure to just carry on trying to outdo myself from that Pass Out moment, because I didn't just want that to be my only defining moment, right? So that was where the pressure was. And thankfully, having a great team of people around me, having, you know, my cousin as my manager, who we've had our ups and downs and our highs and lows, but at the end of the day, the love is there. Do you get what I mean? And it's real. So I feel like this is how I was able to kind of be kept level-headed and be kept grounded, and just was able to just focus on the main mission of what we were trying to achieve and accomplish. But now, in this more woke time, when I'm hearing people talk about depression and anxiety, everything is just starting to make a little bit more sense. But I think them times I was so focused on doing well and being a shining example, not only for myself, but even just to keep the door open for everybody else to be able to come and have a go. Because at that time, we'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So I'd put that pressure on myself, for my community, for my race, for the type of sort of music that we was making to just fly. But now in this more woke time, I'll look at people's like tweets and I'll be like, man, I think I was going through that, you know, like I might have felt a little bit of that at one stage, but there was nowhere to voice it out. There was nowhere to articulate it. And at the same time, you're scared that if you do articulate something like that, someone's going to be like, oh, he's like some mad black guy, or I told you rappers are crazy, or like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And that's even interesting you talk about that, right? Because I wanted to say, like, moving forward, when you had that success on that level, do you become the representative of black in these different spaces now? And how is that for you, sort of thing?
That's such a deep question here, because I feel like you don't make that choice for yourself, but I feel like your community kind of makes that choice for you as and when they feel like it. Do you get what I mean? Sometimes if you're acting like a fool, they'll be like, see, he shouldn't be in this position. Like he's meant to be representing us and doing this and doing that, and he's here acting out. And sometimes you'll do something that is really amazing, and you might not hear anything. So I feel like, in my mind, I felt like I was, but I feel like now when I'm looking at artists just doing what they're doing, and I'm looking like at a Stormzy and a Dave and a J Hus, I think that it's your choice on whether you want to put that on yourself.
Yeah. Do
you get what I mean?
But it's hard when it was a sort of one in, one
yeah,
out sort
yeah.
of time.
And again, that whole one in, one out thing, you can't really control it. We weren't controlling that. Do you get what I mean? We were just making the most of the opportunity that was presented to us. But you're right. I do think when you do have that singular spotlight, people are kind of you're kind of with it's an unspoken thing, but you have got the whole kind of race on your shoulders kind of thing. And that's, I'm not gonna lie, that's how I felt. And that's why there was a pressure for me to just be excellent. And there was a pressure, and I think the pressure was good, because I think, great things came from it. But that's why there was a pressure of me to be so excellent. That's why there was a pressure of me to never show myself in a kind of negative way. Like, we're all from a certain background where things go on every day. Do you get what I mean? We're all from a certain community where some of our loved ones have ended up having to go away, or this crime has happened, or this. But because our race at that time didn't always have the best perception when it came to music or when it came to our lifestyle, I felt so much pressure, and I think it was even self-perpetuating pressure to just be like the best version of myself I could be. And just so even if there was that one little you that was surrounded by madness, he could be like, nah, but look, Tinie, like he's not representing any of this kind of stuff, and he's just doing what he's doing. And that's what I was doing it for.
I definitely hear you on that one. Moving forward now, so we get Pass Out, Frisky, Written in the Stars. That's all before first album, right? Am I correct?
That is all leading into the first album. Yeah.
And I think for me being younger, maybe I didn't understand the sort of like numbers and all of that. And WrestleMania, Monday Night Football, you understand that.
Yeah. That's in your world.
That's in my world. And obviously now being on this side of things, I understand the magnitude of it.
Yeah.
But how long was it before you sort of experienced life-changing money? Not like the figures and stuff, but in terms of you can move out and you can function on your own and not be worried that, I'm not going to be able to make the bills sort of thing.
That's a good question. Again, I think it's all in your mind. It's all like, because some people, they'll make one song and they'll get one check, and then they'll be like, oh, I'm going to go and rent this like mad penthouse, and I'm going to have all my boys round. They're going to move in with me. It's going to be lit. Man's on IG Live every day. Man's got the badders there. She's eating pasta. Do you get what I mean? Some people live like that, but I think the way I was raised, like my parents, we were fortunate enough to move out of Peckham. I saw my parents work like 3 or 4 jobs, re-educate themselves for them to be able to buy us a house where there was a garden. Do you get what I mean? And we were still living in South, but we were in Plumstead. So it just moved us a little bit further out into more of a suburban kind of like existence. And so in my mind, I rented a few places and I was a bit frivolous at the beginning, but I think life-changing money is, you know, there's no limit to money, innit? There's no limit to how much money you can have, and someone's always going to have more money than you, and you're always going to have less money than someone else. Do you get what I mean? So I think it is all down to the way that you were raised and the way that you see money and the way that you treat money. And for me, my rule was, unless you're able to do it like 3 times, which again, I just heard through like older people. I'd even heard some of it through rap music as well. Unless you could buy the thing 3 times, like say this iPhone, for example, I can buy it 3 times. Okay, I can buy 1. Do you get what I mean? Because I have the capacity to buy it 3 times. And so I just started operating on that rule. So, I mean, when I look at my life now and I look at all what I have, it is life-changing now. But I would argue that at the time when it was all happening, I was in this kind of like broke boy mentality. And I think sometimes when you come from a certain existence, some of that stuff will always just stay with you. Like shaking the end of the petrol, you know, like just so to make sure the last bit. I've already filled up the tank, you know. But I will be shaking that last little bit. People will be looking at me like looking at the car like, what are you doing, bro? Yeah. That can't leave me. When I'm driving down the road, man's fully legit. I haven't even had any points on my license, yeah. When the minute police gets behind me, my heart starts going boom, 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 boom. I haven't even done anything wrong. So I think the point I'm just trying to make is that there's certain things that just never, ever leave you. And I think the way that I've treated money and the way that I respect money, being like the oldest son, having like younger siblings, so always having to like set a good example for them. I think I've just been very respectful with money. And so like when I was manifesting everything, because again, like I think it's important for you to know, Rob, like I'm a big believer in the law of attraction.
Okay.
When I was putting out all my manifestations, when I used to think of money, I always used to be like, you know what? To God, to the universe, I don't really care about money, and I don't really care about a specific figure of money. As long as I can always just do what I want to do comfortably and do what I want to do for my family and the people that I love.
That's never the drive. Sort
Yeah,
of thing.
then that's it. And I feel like I'm in that position now. So yeah, I've never really looked at it as life-changing. I just think over the years, it just has become more and more life-changing.
Okay. What strikes me about you as well, and following your story and like just reading stuff about you in interviews and all of that sort of stuff, it feels like when you're younger, I think it was the ZZ Mills tweet about the selling out and all that sort of stuff. It actually dawned on me that you were actually doing stuff you wanted to do and stuff that you like to do. It wasn't like you was being forced into any particular name, even with the musical sound and all of that. And it's sort of hard because there's so many conversations going on around like when you give us with the economics, we sort of want you to stay there and stay there forever.
Yeah.
But you was actually doing what you enjoy doing, right?
Yeah, always, man. And I feel like what's important to understand, for everyone to kind of understand, is that like I've always been an ambitious kid, yeah. And so like, there's one thing wanting to make music for your block, which is where it kind of starts, yeah, and wanting to be that guy on your block, which is what we all wanted to be, and I definitely wanted to be that. And then there's another thing, making music for your community. Do you get what I mean? And going to, you know, the community events. Like back then, it's going to make me sound old, but back then we had things like People's Day or like all these like little, Carnival kind of fits into that as well. But just trying to make things that your community is going to love. And then I think, if I'm being entirely honest, when you have like a global ambition, your music inevitably has to appeal to like a wider audience than your community, because then otherwise, if it doesn't, you're just never going to achieve that. Do you get what I mean? And so from the offset, yes, I've always wanted to be the best MC and I've always wanted to be everyone's favorite MC, but I still understand music and I still appreciate music, and not every bit of music I listen to is necessarily rap music or just bars, or just sometimes it's melodic, sometimes it's introspective, sometimes it's R&B, sometimes it's indie, and so for me, I always understood that I could take my rap vocal and I could put it across all these different types of sounds to create something completely different. And it's something that I've always been doing, and that's why like when I saw the H and the AJ Tracy statement, like I was just like, this just sounds like, again, I'm not taking anything from them because that's their truth and what they're saying is true to them and it's their generation. But I was like, this is how I've always felt, man. This is how I've always felt. I just never, ever had a platform to say it. I don't even think the timing of when I would have said it, would have been correct. But yeah, this is it. Like, make what you want to make and give people what you want to give them. You can't be wrong. Like, it's your truth. It's your time now. You know what you're going through. You know what you're experiencing. And you know what people that are your age and your demographic want. And so give it to them. Like, there's no way you can be wrong.
I hear you. So 2010 to 2015, there's 2 albums in there.
Yeah.
EPs, we get to Junk Food now.
Yeah.
When you look at that Junk Food era, the whole clashing back and forth and Chip and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it looking at it now? Do you feel like, we did something in history? Or do you feel like, I wish I didn't? Or where do you sit on that spectrum?
Nah, man. I think at the end of the day, it's all history and it's all of our stories to own. Like, at the end of the day, what I think really came from that was excitement and life into the game. Like, all right, if people want to say I took an L, cool, I'll take that. But I think what came from it was something a lot bigger. Do you get what I mean? So, I feel like a lot of life was breathed into our culture again. I feel like new artists emerged off the back of that. So big up like a Bugsy Malone. I feel like I've still been able to like retain all the stuff I had like in and around that time. I was still getting #1s and still like doing what I needed to do. And so I feel like it just moved the culture along. Do you get what I mean? I feel like to a certain degree, that's an element of the culture. I don't think it's how we should be defined, but I feel like there's an element of it that excites people. And so to have that in my story, it kind of is what it is. But what happened after that and the sort of excitement that it breathed into the game, moving on from that, you know, a regional MC being able to come down for the first time and kind of take a center stage. And then off the back of that, now we probably have someone like a H. Do you get what I mean? Because if it wasn't for Bugsy, then maybe this door wouldn't have been open for someone like a H. So yeah, I think it was a seminal time. I think in my mind at that time, I didn't really realize how impactful it was going to be.
Of course not.
But I think now when I look at it, like, yeah, it was a big moment. And I think it's a moment that is still in a lot of people's minds. And I feel like, you know, like I've explained to you before, I've constantly tried to like portray myself in a way that is not negative and is not kind of like reinforcing any negative stereotypes. But even now when I see the Wiley and Stormzy situation, and a lot of it does feel very, very serious, but then there's an element of kind of fun to it. Like, I'm just able to, it definitely shows me that we're in a new time now. Okay. We're in a new time. And this is what I've always dreamt of UK music being able to accomplish and being able to achieve. Us to be able to do what we're doing. No one takes it too seriously. You haven't got press being like they're going to stab each other and kill each other. It is kind of what it is, sport for the culture. And Stormzy can continue to enjoy his successful career and Wiley can continue to enjoy his. That's what our culture is about. So yeah, in saying that, I feel like I've played a big part in where our music is now. And in 2020, I just want to continue to keep doing that.
That's true. You speak about the current day as well. Before we talk about the new single,
yeah,
who are you feeling? Everyone wants to know, who have you been listening to since youth?
Boy. So since youth, I've been listening to loads of people. Right now, I'm really feeling, there's this girl called Stalk Ashley, who I really like. MC-wise, rap-wise, you know, at Disturbing London, we've signed Pounds. I'm a big fan of Pounds. I like what he does.
Great energy, man.
Yeah, we signed S1, we signed Kidda. We signed Young Bane, who's doing great bits. On my Imhotep side, we signed Notes. So I'm a massive like fan of Notes and what he's doing. Callie Claire, who's been supporting Mabel on tour, and she like puts out really great R&B music. And then a girl called Lost Girl as well, who's just kind of like new to the whole family and new to the whole team, but she's going to be a problem as well. So these are the guys that we're working with. And then in terms of people that I'm feeling, I'd say American-wise, I really like Lil Baby. There's like a lot of noise when it comes to this US rap now, because I think now there's just so many rappers, bro. Even in the UK, like so many. But I've just been trying to figure out who my guy is and who that person is for me. And I think Lil Baby is he's saying all the right stuff and he's coming with that right energy. I like Brockhampton as well as like a little kind of, I feel like they're the new Odd Future in a kind of weird way. And then who else do I really like? I like St. John. Yeah. I've got a sick record of St. John that you guys need to hear. And then who else do I like?
That's a lot. That's
a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah. I love music, man. It's what I spend the majority of my time doing. So yeah.
I opened up talking about all of your accolades, all that you've accomplished. I don't even feel like I've done it justice because we're such pressed for time. But when you look at all of that sort of stuff, all that you've achieved, everything you've become, and then you look at the emotions of starting a family and having a child for the first time.
Yeah.
How does it compare? If it does compare or contrast, how's that work in your world?
My brother, you haven't had any kids yet, have you?
No.
Oh man, you know what I will say? For those of you that is still so far away in your life, just enjoy your life. But what I would say is that there's no better feeling and there's no greater feeling. I'm like a spiritual person. I believe in God. So for me, I know God is real, but actually seeing that process happen, that was like seeing God right in front of my very eyes. And it just kind of reinforced like how I feel about things. And like, it just kind of gives me like a whole new perspective on life. So it's weird when you're creative because like, you kind of feel the same about your songs as well. Yeah, you kind of do feel the same about your music, but nothing compares to like seeing new life and bringing new life into the world, man. It makes me feel so much more powerful than I felt before. And yeah, to have got to this place where I've achieved like this much, and I'm in a situation where I'm comfortable enough to bring a child into this world in a comfortable way, and they're not really gonna have to be exposed to like all of the things I went through. I just want that now for like all my people. Do you get what I mean? And I want that for all the people from my community, and that's why I'm investing into new artists and I'm trying to guide them so that they can have long careers as well. Because it's one thing getting the opportunity, but the other thing is just staying there and having that longevity. And so that's why I'm just trying to encourage my artists to kind of be on that mindset and have that. But yeah, having a child doesn't compare to any of this, but then also any of this doesn't compare to having a child. So it's like, it's two completely different things.
I know it's always very impactful, even just around people that I've been who've had children. I know it just changes them. That's why I always like to ask that question. Just to get the perspective and stuff. New music now, though.
New music, brother.
I'm so happy you can have your voice in this time.
Yeah.
We stand on the shoulders of those who have come before us.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's great that you can have your voice in this time.
Trust.
I wanted to know, how back are you? Are you like JLS, we're going on a tour back? Or we just...
No, I'm not even JLS back. They're back. Like, they're back. Like, like, their thing is different. Nah, for me, I think what it is like, now, I feel like the way people consume music is different. And when I first started, I started in a very DIY independent way. So it was just about making what I liked, putting it out, and it just living and existing. And then that was it. And then, like I said, all of that hard work led me up to the point where I signed a record deal, and then we took it to another level. I feel like I've kind of consolidated myself on that level. I feel like people know, like, oh, man can make a banger. It's not like people are questioning like my musicality. Like, I don't think people are questioning that. I think now it's just about just putting out music that I like and music that I feel and music that has a message in it. Not all the time, because not all of my music has a message, I'll be honest, but, you know, music and records that sometimes have a message that I want people to hear at a particular time. And I think with Top Winners, this is basically me just being like, I know the position I'm in. No one's ever going to be able to take this position away from me until you've done what I've done, basically. And I'm passing on the baton to this new generation of amazing talent that hopefully, you know, we can do it together. But even if we don't do it together, they're going to take this thing to a whole different level. Yeah. And so I'm giving you guys the torch, man. Just run with it. That's kind of what it is. And so, like, all I really want to do is just put out music for people to enjoy, and then whatever happens off the back of that is what happens. But I'm like a very content person. I'm happy with the career that I've had to this point.
Even to this point.
Yeah, even to this point. I think I've achieved like stuff that I've always dreamed of. And I think like the next 10 years is about me, but it's also about all of the other artists that I have around me. And it's about us getting to that place where our culture and our music is on the world stage, because I feel like now our scene is on the world stage, but I think musically, like the actual songs, I think someone from like abroad or the States or whatever could tell you who the rappers are here and who they like, but I think in terms of like
connect the actual
the songs and like you said, the numbers and how well the songs are doing on the world stage versus an American song or versus like a song by Ed Sheeran or Lewis Capaldi or versus I still think that that's
the next
there's still like levels to be reached, and for me that's always been my ambition, so that's what I'm always going to continue to try and just do and perfect and master.